Have you ever paused to wonder if stepping back could light a fire that constant presence might smother? As women, we're often taught that our worth lies in being there, always nurturing, always available, holding the world together with our hands and hearts. But what if the space we create becomes the very thing that deepens our connections and lifts us higher? Today, we're diving into a question that turns the traditional idea of love upside down. Can a woman fall in love with you when you're not around? It sounds strange at first. Shouldn't love grow through closeness, through shared moments and constant contact? Yet, here's the unexpected truth. Sometimes, the most powerful attraction takes root in absence. This isn't about playing games or twisting someone's emotions. It's about giving love the air it needs to flourish, drawing on the ancient wisdom of Stoicism to build a foundation of strength, self-respect, and emotional depth. Through real stories of women who've turned distance into power, I'll show you how intentional absence grounded in self-mastery can spark a bond that's unshakable. Let's explore how this philosophy, once penned by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, empowers us as modern women to redefine love on our own terms with grace and resilience. The value of space. What if the key to being truly seen lies in stepping away? We've all felt it, the pull to be everywhere at once, especially in relationships. Society tells us that the more time we pour into someone, the stronger our connection becomes. It's a lesson women learn early, etched into us through generations of caregiving. Think of the mothers who've sacrificed sleep for their children, the partners who've set aside dreams to support someone else's. Quality time is precious, no question. But here's where the story shifts. Too much presence can dim the flame we're trying to tend. I met Sarah at a women's empowerment workshop in Chicago, a single mother with tired eyes and a quiet strength. For years, she'd given everything to her kids and her boyfriend, always there, always answering the call, always smoothing the edges of their lives. I thought that's what love looked like, she told me, her voice soft but steady. Over time, though, she noticed a change. Her boyfriend stopped thanking her, stopped noticing the little things she did. He just got used to me being around, she said, a flicker of realization crossing her face. It wasn't cruelty, it was human nature. We stop seeing what's always in front of us. Space, then, becomes a way to hit reset. It's like stepping back from a painting you've been staring at too closely. Suddenly, the colors pop, the details sharpen, and you see the whole masterpiece for what it is. Sarah started small. She took evening walks alone, leaving her phone on silent. She picked up a paintbrush again, something she hadn't done since her teens. At first, it felt selfish. Shouldn't she be home, cooking dinner, checking in? But then her boyfriend texted one night, "Where are you? Everything okay?" There was a curiosity in his words, a spark she hadn't seen in months. That tiny bit of distance gave him room to wonder, to reflect, to feel her absence in a way he couldn't when she was always within reach. Stoicism backs this up with quiet power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In relationships, we can't control how she feels, whether she's a partner, a friend, a sister. But we can control ourselves, our time, our energy, our presence. When we give her space, we're handing her a chance to step back and see us fully. She feels the quiet where we used to be, and it stirs something deep, emotions that routine and familiarity can bury. For women, this idea is a quiet revolution. We're raised to believe our value lies in being indispensable, always the glue, the caretaker, the one who never falters. But when we embrace space, we take back a piece of ourselves. We show her we're not just a constant, we're a presence worth missing. Sarah told me how those walks became her sanctuary, a place to breathe and remember who she was beyond everyone else's needs. Her boyfriend started calling more, asking about her day, noticing the light in her eyes when she talked about her art. It wasn't about abandoning him, it was about trusting that her worth didn't need to be proven every second. Space became her gift to both of them, a chance for him to see her anew and for her to stand taller in her own life. It's like planting a seed in soft earth. Too much water drowns it, but the right amount of air and light lets it grow roots that dig deep. In love, space isn't emptiness, it's possibility. Scarcity breeds attraction. Why do we chase what's hard to hold? Gold shines brighter than steel, not because it's stronger, but because it's rare. Diamonds catch the light because they're elusive, buried deep and uncovered only with effort. This isn't just about things, it's a thread that runs through us, through the way we love and connect. When we're always there, texts answered in seconds, plans rearranged at a whim, our presence starts to feel ordinary. I met Maria at a feminist philosophy panel in Seattle, a tech entrepreneur with a sharp mind and a story that stuck with me. She'd been in a relationship where she was the one keeping it alive, always calling first, always suggesting dinner, always bridging the gap. I thought it showed I cared, she said, her hands tracing the edge of her coffee cup. But over time, her partner drifted. He stopped initiating, stopped meeting her halfway. She felt invisible even as she poured herself into him. Then something shifted. Maria ended a big project at work, a startup pitch that demanded her focus. She stopped texting first, stopped planning every date. Days passed without her usual check-ins. And then, one evening, her phone lit up. "Hey, you've been quiet. Everything okay?" It was him, reaching out, his tone laced with something new, curiosity, maybe even longing. Scarcity had flipped the script. When we're selective with our time, when we don't hand ourselves over freely, we become precious. She starts to wonder about us, to miss the sound of our voice, to crave the moments we share. This isn't about being distant or cruel, it's about finding balance. Epictetus, a Stoic who knew a thing or two about resilience, said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In love, this translates to not needing her attention every moment to feel whole. Maria learned this through trial and fire. "I stopped chasing," she told me, her eyes bright, "and started living my own life." That shift didn't just pull him back, it made her radiant. For women, this challenges everything we're taught. We're told love means being endlessly available, that our role is to give and give until we're empty. But scarcity, it's our quiet rebellion. It says, "I'm here when it counts, but I'm not yours to take for granted." Maria didn't become unreachable, she became intentional. She'd reply to his texts, but not instantly. She'd make plans, but not every night. That space left room for him to feel her absence, to realize what he missed when she wasn't there. It's not manipulation, it's power, the kind that comes from knowing our worth doesn't hinge on being needed every second. In a world that asks us to overextend, to stretch ourselves thin, scarcity is our shield. It protects us from fading into the background and invites her to step closer, to see us as the rare, brilliant light we are. Fostering emotional reflection. What happens when we leave room for silence? Something tender unfolds. Reflection. When we're always present, filling every moment with words or touch, it's easy for her to stop seeing us. Familiarity can dull the edges of appreciation. It's not her fault. It's just how we're wired. But absence carves out a space where emotions can stretch and grow. I met Aisha at a community outreach event in Atlanta, a teacher with a warm smile and a story that lingered. She'd been in a long-distance relationship, separated from her partner by state lines for nearly a year. "I hated it at first," she admitted, her voice catching. "I thought distance would break us." But as weeks turned 2 months, something shifted. Alone in her quiet apartment, she'd find herself thinking about him, his goofy laugh, the way he'd listen when she rambled about her students. "I started missing him in ways I never did when he was here," she said. "That's the gift of absence, it lets reflection bloom." Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius filled his meditations with thoughts on life's impermanence, urging himself to pause and cherish what mattered. When we step back, we're not just creating distance, we're offering her a chance to feel us in a new way. Aisha told me how those months apart became a mirror. Without their daily routines, she noticed the little things she'd overlooked: his patience, his quiet support during her late-night grading sessions. "I'd sit there, replaying our talks," she said, "and realize how much he meant to me." When they reunited, she didn't just run to him, she saw him with fresh eyes, her love sharpened by the space between them. For women, this is a radical act. We're conditioned to keep things moving, to fix, to connect, to fill every gap. But stepping back lets her process on her own terms. It's not about making her miss us, it's about trusting that our absence will reveal what's true. Aisha's partner felt it too. He'd call her late at night, his voice soft, saying, "I keep thinking about you." That distance didn't weaken them, it forged their bond stronger, proving that love doesn't need constant noise to thrive. In a world that rushes us from one moment to the next, this pause is power. It's where appreciation takes root, where she might realize how deeply we've woven ourselves into her life, not through force, but through the quiet weight of our absence. Building your value in absence. Absence isn't just about stepping away, it's about what we do with that time. Imagine coming back not as the same woman, but as someone brighter, bolder, more alive. That's where the real alchemy happens. I met Priya at a women's leadership retreat in upstate New York, a nurse with a gentle voice and a fire in her eyes. She'd taken a break from dating after a messy breakup, tired of losing herself in relationships that left her drained. I needed to figure out who I was, she told me, sitting cross-legged on the grass. So she'd even learned yoga, earned a certification in holistic care, started journaling to heal old wounds. Months later, she ran into her ex at a coffee shop. He stared, caught off guard. "You're different," he said, almost in awe. "More you." Her time apart hadn't just made him miss her, it made her impossible to ignore. Stoicism calls us to this work. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." For us, it's about becoming our fullest selves, mentally sharper, physically stronger, emotionally deeper. Priya didn't sit around waiting for him to notice her absence, she built something new. She'd wake early to stretch on her mat, feeling her body grow steady. She'd study late, her mind buzzing with ideas about health and healing. When she walked back into his life, she carried a quiet confidence that lit up the room. Absence becomes magnetic when it's paired with growth. It shows we're not frozen in place, that we're revolving, that we bring fresh energy to her world. For women, this rewrites the rules. We are often told our value lies in what we give our time, our care, our endless support. But building ourselves in absence proves it's about who we are, not just what we do. Priya's ex couldn't look away, not because she'd chased him, but because she'd chased herself. Whether it's learning a skill, healing a hurt, or simply finding peace, that growth radiates. She sees it in our stride, hears it in our voice, feels it in the way we carry ourselves. I asked Priya how it felt to return so transformed. "Like I was enough," she said, smiling. And he saw it too. It's not just about being missed, it's about becoming a woman so whole, so vibrant, that she can't help but admire us. Absence, then, isn't a void, it's a forge, shaping us into someone worth longing for. Avoiding emotional overload. Ever felt like love could drown you? Too much, too fast, it's a trap we've all stumbled into. Relationships can choke under the weight of intensity, especially when we're always there, always pouring in. I met Lena at a podcast recording in Los Angeles, a writer with a quick laugh and a story that hit home. Early in her relationship, she was all in texts flying back and forth, calls every night, her heart wide open. "I thought it was passion," she said, leaning back in her chair. But soon, her partner started pulling away, his replies shorter, his voice distant. "I overwhelmed him," she realized later. "I didn't give us space to breathe." When she finally eased up, let a day pass without a message, skipped a call to write instead, the shift was instant. He texted first, "Hey, you okay? Miss hearing from you." Stoics knew balance is everything. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." Flooding a relationship with emotion is like overwatering a garden, it drowns the roots. Space keeps it alive, prevents burnout, lets feelings unfold naturally. Lena learned this the hard way. "I was so afraid of losing him," she told me, "that I almost did." Stepping back didn't just save her connection, it saved her. She started writing again, pouring her energy into stories instead of endless check-ins. When they reconnected, it felt lighter, fresher, HED call, eager to talk, drawn by the calm she'd found. For women, this is freedom. We're taught to overgive, to fear that pulling back means losing love. But avoiding overload protects us as much as it protects the bond. It's a quiet stand, "I'm here, but I'm not your everything." Lena told me how that balance changed her. "I didn't need to prove my love every minute," she said, her voice steady. "It was enough to just be." When we come back, it's not forced, it's real, a connection that's had room to grow. In a culture that glorifies constant effort, this restraint is radical. It's love with breathing room, a bond that thrives because it's not suffocating under our weight. Confidence in letting go. There's a quiet strength in letting go, not of love itself, but of the need to hold it so tight. I met Carla at a Stoic philosophy seminar in Miami, a lawyer with a sharp mind and a heart that had been bruised. She'd been in a relationship that was slipping away, and she fought to keep it texts every day, calls begging for reassurance. I was terrified he'd leave, she confessed, her hands clasped tight. But the more she clung, the further he drifted. Finally, she stopped. No more chasing, no more pleading. A week later, her phone rang. "Hey," he said, his voice soft. "Where have you been?" Her stepping back didn't push him away, it pulled him closer. Epictetus put it simply, some things are up to us, and some things are not. We can't make her miss us, can't force her heart to turn our way. But we can master ourselves, our reactions, our presence, our peace. Letting go isn't weakness, it's confidence, the kind that says, I don't need to beg for you to see me. Carla's detachment wasn't cold, it was trust in her own worth. I stopped chasing, she told me, and he came to me. That self-assurance lit something in him. He saw her strength, her calm, and it drew him back. For women, this defies every script we're handed. We're told to hold on, to fight, to prove our love through persistence. But confidence in letting go says, I'm enough, whether you're here or not. It's not desperation, it's power. Carla started filling her days differently, reading cases, running on the beach, finding her footing again. When he called, she didn't leap, she answered with a steady voice. A woman who knew her value. That shift, it's magnetic. It tells her we're not clinging out of fear, that our happiness doesn't hinge on her every move. In a world that often asks us to shrink, this is bold, it's love that stands tall, trusting she'll see us when we're ready to be seen. Absence as a test of commitment. Distance doesn't just create space, it reveals what's real. I met Fatima at a student event in Boston, a young woman with a thoughtful gaze and a story of love stretched across miles. She'd faced a summer apart from her girlfriend, a separation forced by internships and time zones. I was so scared it'd end us, she said, twisting a ring on her finger. But in that space, something grew. Fatima would sit alone, thinking about their late-night talks, her girlfriend's quiet courage. Then the letters started coming, handwritten notes from across the country, full of I miss you and I can't wait to see you. It showed me she cared, Fatima said, her smile wide. Absence didn't break them, it proved their bond. Marcus Aurelius saw challenges as paths to growth. What stands in the way becomes the way, he wrote. If she misses us when we're gone, it's not just habit, it's heart. Fatima's girlfriend didn't just coast on old routines. She felt the gap and reached across it. For women, this is clarity in a world that fears separation. We're taught distance is danger, that love fades without constant touch. But absence is a mirror, it shows what holds. Those letters, Fatima told me, they were proof. If it endures, it's forged stronger. If it falters, we see the cracks and move forward wiser. This isn't about testing her, it's about trusting the truth. Fatima said that summer taught her patience, taught her to value what they had. When they reunited, it wasn't just relief, it was recognition. She saw me differently, Fatima said, and I saw her too. For us, it's empowerment. Absence strips away the noise, leaving only what matters. Whether it deepens or dissolves, it's a gift, a chance to know where we stand, to build something real or let go with grace. Maintaining emotional stability. Stability is a quiet power, especially when the world goes quiet too. I met Grace at a cooking class in Portland, a chef with a steady hand and a story of finding her center. Early in her relationship, absence rattled her, very unanswered texts sent her spiraling. I'd overthink everything, she said, chopping onions with precision. Why hasn't she called? Is she done? Then she stumbled into stoicism, started meditating, started grounding herself in the kitchen's rhythm. When her partner went silent for a weekend, Grace didn't panic, she cooked, breathed, stayed steady. Later, her partner said, "You're so solid. I love that about you." Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Stability in absence shows we don't crumble without her voice. Grace told me how those quiet days became her strength. I didn't need her to tell me I was okay, she said. I knew it. For women, this shatters the myth of emotional fragility. We're not storms waiting to break, we're roots holding firm. That calm, it's what pulls her back. She saw I wasn't shaken, Grace said, and it made her trust me more. This isn't about hiding feelings, it's about holding them steady. Grace would stir a pot, let her mind settle, and trust the silence. When they reconnected, it wasn't frantic, it was warm, real. In a culture that expects us to waver, stability is defiance. It says, I'm here, whole, waiting, not falling apart. That strength keeps her close, not out of need, but out of respect. The power of self-respect. Absence only sings when it's born from self-respect. I met Naomi at an art gallery in Denver, a painter with a wild streak and a lesson hard-earned. Once, she'd played hard to get out of fear, dodging calls to seem aloof. It backfired. Her partner saw through it, pulled away. He knew I was faking, she said, brushing paint off her hands. Years later, she tried again, not as a game, but as truth. She stepped back to paint, to live her life, to stand in her own worth. When they crossed paths again, he stopped short. I saw you differently, he told her. You were real this time. Self-respect isn't arrogance, it's knowing we don't need to beg for love. Naomi didn't vanish to trick him, she grew. She'd spend hours at her easel, building a world that was hers alone. I stopped needing him to see me, she said. I saw myself. For women, this is breaking chains. We're taught to seek approval, to bend until we fit. But self-respect says, I'm enough, with or without you. She sees that, not the ploy, but the power, and it draws her in. Naomi's boundaries sharpened too. She'd say no to late night calls, yes to her own time. It wasn't cold, she told me. It was me valuing me. That quiet confidence, it's what made him look twice. In a world that asks us to shrink, self-respect is our roar ale of that doesn't plead, that stands tall, waiting for her to meet us there. Absence with purpose. Does she fall in love when we're gone? Yes, if our absence has soul. I met Jada at a therapy conference in Houston, a counselor with a gentle voice and a story of transformation. She'd taken time apart from her partner to heal, therapy, books, long walks alone. When they reconnected, he stared, stunned. I missed you, he said, but I love who you're becoming. Purposeful absence isn't disappearing, it's stepping back with intention, letting growth fill the space. Stoicism weaves it all together: discipline, balance, trust. Jada didn't vanish, she built herself stronger. I wanted to be whole, she said. For me, not just for him. For women, this is love redefined, not clinging, but creating. It's not games, it's faith that our light shines even when we're out of sight. He saw me clearer, Jada told me, because I saw myself. She misses us, values us, because we've crafted something worth missing. Absence with purpose isn't a gap, it's a bridge, drawing us closer through the space we've dared to claim.